But we are starting now. Can you imagine that I had like a cool intro song? I really need to get one. every streamer has one. It makes you look professional if you do the intro song. I keep getting people going. It's like, oh yes, the Hungarian prime minister. He's not going to arrest Betty, but like you have other prime ministers that said they will. I mean, Canada is going to arrest Benny. And Netherlands, yeah, Netherlands is definitely going to arrest Benny. And I'm wondering, again, am I at the kids' table? Am I talking politics with the kids? Because the reason they do this, like the only reason you as a world leader would go out in public and you would announce, oh yes, I'll arrest him. It's because you're telling him, hey, don't come here. If you want to arrest someone, you don't announce it. You don't say even that you will, and you don't say that you won't. You just shut the fuck up. That's how it works. And the reason is that if you're actually saying you're arresting him, then you're basically announcing, hey, don't come to the country. Because like as a prime minister, he goes around the world. Like there's various events, there's various meetings, there's various business things that he has to attend. So if you're telling him, it's like, yeah, I'm going to arrest you, then he's just going to send someone else, right? So this is what's happening. No one wants the hot potato. And this is what I'm trying to say when I'm, yeah, exactly, I'm on dev's table. Like when I'm saying, look, the idea that no one is above the law is ridiculous because obviously if you're an influential person, the law is applied differently to you. Like imagine if you had an ICC warrant. Or any type of international warrant. Like, do you honestly think this conversation would even take place? Do you even think, like, okay, if Andrew Tate had an arrest warrant, do you honestly think that you'd have world leaders coming up and saying, oh yeah, we're not going to arrest him, or oh yeah, if he comes here, we will? No one would talk about that. Everyone would shut the fuck up, and when he arrives at an airport, he would be arrested. That's what happens to normal people. But if you're someone like Putin, if you're someone like Z, if you're someone like Netanyahu, then yeah, you're above the fucking law, of course. I would say that Trump would probably get arrested. I actually had this conversation with a patron of mine, and they said that Germany wouldn't arrest Trump, and I'm like, of course they would arrest Trump. If Trump had an ICC warrant, they would arrest him, and it's like, well, why? Well, it's simple, because all of Russia is behind Putin, all of China is behind Z, all of Israel is behind Netanyahu, but like when it comes to Donald Trump, half the nation is against him. Like every single Democrat would support the ICC warrant. Every single like left-leaning Democrat, all the mainstream media, people from social media would be like, no, like no one is above the law, above the law, above the law. But if you're arresting Netanyahu, like the thing would be probably like some people in Israel wouldn't be okay with it. But you'd have the NGOs, you'd have activists, you'd have ideologues, like people that aren't paid by Israel. It's just like people that do it for the ideology, and they would be like, no, this is unthinkable, like how can you... Now again, I'm not even saying whether or not the ICC is right. I haven't even looked at it. I don't even know what he's being charged of. I mean, I can suspect, but like, it doesn't even matter. Because the countries aren't saying that they're disagreeing with the reasoning behind the ICC ruling. They're just saying, no, we're not going to apply it. We're not going to enforce it. Which probably makes a lot of people upset that have had arrest warrants on their name and were taken to the ICC and were trial, right? Like they're like, well, why am I being treated differently? Well, because you're not Benjamin Netanyahu. Yeah, but like as I said, it doesn't matter if Europe is under the United States. Like to be honest, the whole world is kind of dominated by the United States. The question is like, do the countries like it or not? China doesn't like it. Europe likes it. The thing is, like, if you were to arrest Trump, most of the United States wouldn't back Trump. Like, all of the Democrat Party would definitely be like, who cares? And you'd have, like, the mainstream media and NGOs and activists and people that are funded by the United States going like, no, he needs to face justice. That's why I'm saying that if Trump was arrested by Germany, no one would care. Well, I mean, like, obviously MAGA people would, but, like, the actual German government would do it. Like, yeah, if there was an ICC warrant for Trump and Trump was in Germany, he would get arrested, 100%. to mention, like, what do you think would happen? Like, do you think the United States would send military forces into Germany in order to, like, no. You already blew up their pipeline. Like, what else can you do to them, you know? The reality, though, is that world leaders probably won't go to countries. Like, you're not going to see Putin going into any Western country anytime soon. Unless they're, like, entrapping him, which even then probably wouldn't happen. Like, an entrapping him would be like, all right, let's discuss the peace deal for Ukraine, and we're going to have the conference in Britain. Like, that won't happen. Yeah, Germany would 100% arrest Donald Trump. If he had a ICC warrant on his name, there is no doubt about it. I don't have a single doubt in my body. And eventually, like, even my backer that I was talking with, it's like, you know what, like, if you put it that way, yeah. Because it's true. So let's see what Hungary is doing. Like, here's the thing. Hungary is openly spiting the ICC. Which, to me, like, doesn't really make sense. Because a lot of people go like, well, who is this ICC? Like, why should you... Well, you signed, like, you as a country, you signed that you want to create this organization. Because that's what's happening, right? Like, countries from around the world, over 100 countries, they signed the fact that they want to arrest war criminals, right? Like, they were like, oh my goodness, World War II, so bad. And this was like in 2010, I believe, right? So, like, it's not that long ago. And all these countries are like, oh goodness gracious, World War II, so bad. Even though it's like, what, like more than 60 years now from World War II? And they're like, we need to create an organization that tells us who to arrest. Because we don't like war crimes. War crimes bad. And if any war criminal steps into our country, we're going to arrest him. But, like, how do we know who's a war criminal? Like, who gets to decide? Right? Because, like, war criminals are international. Like how do you know if someone from Africa, if some warlord from Africa comes into Hungary? Like, how do we know that he committed war crimes? It's like, okay, well, we're going to take our taxpayer money, and we're going to fund this organization, the ICC. And the ICC will do the investigations, and they will tell us. They will let us know. And Hungary themselves wanted to create this. Like, they brought this into existence. And now they're saying, well, yeah, like, we created it, but we're not going to follow the rules. And it's like, well, why did you create it then? Oh, it's virtue signaling, isn't it? I see. Because, you know, like, other political members, they just don't want to arrest Netanyahu. Like, that's the thing. They're basically saying, oh, yeah, if you come here, we're going to totally arrest you. Which basically means, hey, don't come here. Don't go to Canada. Don't go to Britain. Don't go to Netherlands, right? Because, like, we don't want you as a hot potato. Like, don't cause problems for us. And then you have, like, some other politicians saying, like, we're not going to arrest him. Which at least they're honest, right? But then you have, like, you have Viktor Orban, who's like, no, listen. It's not that we want to arrest you. We want you here. Like, we're inviting you here. Which is interesting. Because there's like a 1% chance that it would be a trap. Like, honestly, if it's a trap, I would laugh my ass off. Hungary is kind of close to Russia. Like, they're not allies or anything, but it's energy dependence, right? The relationship between Russia and Israel isn't that great either. So, like, if Hungary has to choose, I think, like, they would probably choose Russia. I don't think, like, Putin actually cares about the situation in Israel. It's kind of like more like Russia and China are close, and China is close to Iran. So Iran is against Israel. Like, that's kind of the geopolitics of the era, of the region, right? I don't think, like, Russia cares either about Israel or Palestine, but it's more like Israel is an ally to the US on the world scale. And Russia and China are friends. China is friends with Iran. Iran doesn't like Israel. That's kind of how it's like. It's like a Game of Thrones situation over there. So, like, when you're looking at Hungary, they probably would be more aligned with the Russian view rather than the American view on this. So it is like a very small possibility of a troll that he's inviting the man just to have him arrested. I don't think that Benjamin is going to go. But it would be hilarious, though. It would be hilarious if Orban is saying, "Oh yeah, like you know what? Like come over here, get over here." Hungarian Orban invited Israel Prime Minister to visit his country and confirmed he will not honor an arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court. They called the warrant outrageous, brazen, and cynical. Now here's the thing. Usually, when you have an organization like the ICC, imagine you get to work for the ICC. It's one of the most comfortable jobs in the fucking world. You got no responsibility. Like no one is on top of you. You're making a lot of money by doing virtually nothing. Like even if you're a normal judge, right? Like imagine you're a normal judge, and you got like 100 cases per month. There's a lot of work. Like you gotta work nonstop every single hour of the day. You gotta work. You gotta go through the papers. You gotta do this shit. If you're working for the ICC, you barely do anything. You have other people doing the job for you. There aren't that many cases. It's a very relaxing job, and you're probably well paid. I don't know how much they're making. I wouldn't be surprised if it's around 10,000 a month. I will have to check. But usually like these types of government jobs that are from taxpayer money and they're respectable professions, like they have a lot of cash. All you gotta do is not rock the boat. Like you don't have a single boss, right? No one is on top of you. No one is auditing. No one is looking over you. No one is, right? Like you're not going to get in trouble. Just shut the fuck up. And by shutting the fuck up, it means leave world leaders alone. Don't put the member states in a position where they can't enforce your warrant. Don't put an arrest warrant on Putin so that when he goes into an African nation, now the African nation has to wonder if they're going to get sanctioned. Which is pretty much what happened. Like Putin went into, well, hold on. He went into an Asian nation first. And that one didn't arrest him because he's Putin. And then he went to South Africa, and South Africa actually had to change their internal legislation to justify why they weren't arresting him. And, you know, like, you as a member of the ICC, you're not supposed to do that. Because, like, you're making a warrant, you know, because they're not retarded, right? Like, again, they're not at the kids' table. They know that the warrant isn't going to be enforced. Like, no one is going to arrest Putin. So they're aware that's not going to happen. But they do it anyway, and the question is why? And the answer is virtue signal, to show that they're powerful. And it's like, yeah, keep showing that you're powerful, keep putting names like Benjamin Netanyahu on your list, so that member states that are funding the ICC get to pull out. Because that's what's going to happen. No one is going to enforce that shit. You're not going to see Benjamin Netanyahu arrested, just like we're not going to see Chairman Z ever arrested, just like you're never going to see Putin ever arrested. No one wants that hot potato. Like no one wants the entire Russian Federation breathing down your neck. Even if he is guilty. Like, I'm not even discussing whether he deserves to be on. Like, maybe he does deserve to be there. I don't fucking know. But, like, we're talking pragmatism. We're talking real-world politics. We're talking the reality of the situation. It's kind of like putting Hillary Clinton on the list. Like, she's never going to be arrested. I noticed that... God, it's so fucking bizarre. Have I seen the IGN reviews of Overlord? No. I love to be a petty bureaucrat in the ICC. No, like, seriously, these people, they are treated like modern royalty. They make so much cash. They're surrounded by all these luxuries, all these amenities. They're treated with respect. And they genuinely think that they're worthy of it. It goes to their head. And then they start making all of these decisions that are absolutely bewildering. And you're like, dude, all you have to do is not rock the boat. Just stop rocking the boat. You know, like, put a terrorist there. No one cares. You know, like, put some ISIS members. Put some Hamas members. Like, that's fine, you know. Like, put some terrorist members over there. Some guy from Africa that no one heard about. And they committed war crimes. And, you know, like, those people may actually get arrested. Like, seriously, if the situation in the region is getting pretty bad and their forces are getting BTFO'd and they try to flee to the west and they get into an airport, yeah, they can get arrested. Like you can actually do some good. You can actually get people arrested. No one is going to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel. I don't care who it is. I don't care what Israel did. De facto, like in reality, in the real world, they're not going to get arrested. But like, seriously, the only way you can arrest a world leader is if you declare war on their country, your military occupies the capital and you capture him. That's it. Like, that is the only way in which a world leader can get arrested, or if he gets arrested internally. Like, there's like some revolution in their country, or, you know, like someone else takes power and they arrest him. Kind of like what's probably happening with Bolsonaro, right? Like, Bolsonaro now is being found guilty of crimes in Brazil, right? So, yeah, like Bolsonaro can be arrested. But you're not going to have, like, Lula. Like, let's say there is a warrant on Lula from Brazil. He's not going to get arrested. He won't be prime minister forever. I think it's also like the prestige, like the audacity of it, the fact that you're arresting a prime minister. But yeah, like maybe 20 years from now, when Bibi is like 95, yeah, okay, maybe you can arrest him then. Sure. Like that's a different conversation. Yeah, in 2045 we can review, and we can see if Bibi is going to get arrested. And then, you know, like, you're going to have this old man in a wheelchair going to Hungary, and he's going to be safe there because the prime minister at the time in 2024 said that the ICC ruling is ridiculous. Sure. Bolsonaro is being found crimes because Brazil has taken over by, say, communists. Yeah, but, like, I'm telling you the reality. Again, it doesn't matter. Like, we're not at the kids' table. When you're talking about world politicians, when you're talking about prime ministers, when you're talking about presidents, and the law doesn't matter as much. It's mostly political games. And the reality is, like, can you enforce it? That's it. It's, can you enforce it? If you have, like, enough legitimacy and you have the power to enforce it, then yeah, it's going to be enforced. If you don't have the power to enforce it, it's not going to be enforced. Putin is not going to be arrested by an African nation. Right? Like, that's the reality of the situation. These are the same people that were talking about assassinating other world leaders. What are they? Congo, your president is actually a war criminal, but perhaps by simply paying a fine, we can avoid the whole unpleasantries. Yeah. Like, a lot of people don't know the politics of African nations. I find them absolutely hilarious. And I find them hilarious because I don't have to live there. But for those of you that follow a little bit of politics, like what's happening in Somaliland, what's happening in Africa, holy shit. The thing that I like, and I keep saying this, they are incredibly left-leaning on social issues. It's like borderline communists, kind of like Zimbabwe, you know, fuck the farmers, fuck the people that make our food, that type of shit. But when it comes on social issues, when it's about policy, it's like, why are you gay? You know, it's kind of like that, like the most right-wing extremist type of thinking you can possibly imagine. So, like, they're insanely right-wing on social issues, insanely left-wing on economics issue. Conservative when it counts? I don't know. I mean, their nations aren't nice places to do business in. Because one day the legislation says one thing, the other day they may not apply it. You may have people with guns coming in. Like, let me give you an example of legislation in South Africa, just so you know how corrupt it is, right? So, one of the ways that politicians in South Africa make money is from the energy company. They have like this government-backed energy company. I don't know the name of it, Esson, whatever. But it's pretty much like the power company. You know, like they're giving you energy into your house. And because it's run by the government and it's very corrupt and a lot of money is being funneled into the politicians' pockets, it's also very inefficient. Like this energy company is cutting power for people almost like 3-4 hours every day. They call it load shedding. Yeah, so it causes a horror in the country because, you know, it's one thing when your power goes up for 3-4 hours, but gas stations don't work, banking doesn't work, restaurants have difficulty preserving food. Like when you load shade, ESCOM, yeah. When you load shade every single day, it affects the life of the nation. Like, it's one thing if you have, you know, your power going out one day. Okay. Maybe you have your power going out like 2-3 days and then it's fine. But if it's happening constantly, like for hours, every single day, it completely destroys businesses. Like, think about it. Like, supermarkets. Like, you have product that requires refrigeration. And if every single day the fridges don't work, the product gets spoiled. So anyway, this has been going on for years, and of course, you know, their government is ESG friendly and all that shit. But anyway, you have this private company. I think it was from Europe or from the US. Doesn't really matter. But this private company is operating in South Africa, and they don't want to deal with this shit. They don't want to deal with the power outages. So what they do is they have solar panels, and they have like this place, and it's solar panels, and they have constant power. Now, there's a village nearby, and they're making more power than they need. It's like all these solar panels are giving them so much electricity that their offices are already supplied. And they're like, you know what, we're going to sell some to the village nearby. So we're going to help connect people from the village to our solar panels. And it turns out that it works, right? Like now, there was one village in South Africa that had power constantly. And it was also cheaper than what Eskom is providing. But the government wouldn't allow that because they're like, well, hold on a little bit. If everyone does it, like if this actually ends up being a good business, we're going to lose money because take into account the government is corrupt, right? Like they're taking money from Eskom. So they don't want people to just find out alternatives. So what they do is that they tell this private company that was supplying energy to the village that they aren't allowed because they champion socialism and equality, and it's not fair for the other customers that are part of the Eskom who do have to go through load shedding. It's not fair for them to see that this village has power constantly. So, yeah, I mean, economically, they're left-wing as fuck. Socially, they're very conservative. Yeah, like socially, they're like, why are you gay? But after figuring out why you are gay, they will start asking, why are you giving power to this village? Why are you privatizing the energy sector? Because you can't have a monopoly with competition, exactly. Why are they putting solar panel farms when they just can put solar panels on the new warehouse roofs? I don't know. I'm just telling you what happened. Like, I'm pretty sure if you ask the people in charge, they would tell you why they did it. That's DEI right there. Yeah, it is. And it's also interesting when you look at the world, the nations that have like the strong ESG policies are some of the poorest nations, except for America, right? But you can make me argue that America is so wealthy that even with DEI, they're still wealthy, but like without DEI, they would be wealthier. Isn't there also the actual white-only settlement that terraformed the desert into a lovely place? I think there is. There's like in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken, like there's this community which doesn't respond to the government. Like they have some independence, and it's mostly white people, which the government hates. Like they're constantly bringing up that, oh, this community is racist for not letting black people in. But I'm pretty sure like if you let black people in, they would start voting for the South African government. Or to lose the independence of that place. Because again, like the policies, see, this is the thing. Like a lot of people are thinking that the government is incompetent, that they don't know how to run a nation. No, the thing is they don't want to run a nation. They want to fill their pockets with money. And the people in charge of South Africa are obscenely wealthy. The people in charge of Zimbabwe are obscenely wealthy. Like that's the difference. It's not that the people in charge of Zimbabwe do not know how to run a country. They're not even trying. Like, we don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But, like, what we know is that their interest is to enrich themselves, is to make themselves obscenely wealthy. And at that, they're very successful. It's the same with Keir Starmer in the UK. It's not like Keir Starmer, if he wanted to, he wouldn't be able to have like a prosperous country. It's that he's not even trying. Like that's not his objectives. I saw the meeting of BlackRock and the Keir Starmer administration. It literally looked as if the king is visiting one of his local governors. You know, like from the body position, the language, the body language and everything. It literally looked like BlackRock's in charge. And they're just coming to ask Keir Starmer. It's like, okay, we got a deadline. Like, I know you're with the plan. I know you're on board. But, like, we got a deadline, and I want you to tell me how long is it going to take. So it's not incompetence. It's not that they just don't know how to fix a country. I mean, we have over 2,000 years of running nations. Like, everything is documented. We already know. We know what makes a good economy. We know what makes a bad economy. We know all these things. So, like, if someone actually wanted to run a good nation, they would. But the reality is they're not interested. They want to make money either for themselves or for the people that they work for, so on and so forth. That's a cute thought. Imagine that these politicians are trying to make their country great, but it's just failing. Yeah, that's... See, the ones that I believe may actually try to do that are actually the populists. Like people like Milei. I genuinely think that Milei is trying to make his country good. Like, I got no doubt about it. I do think that Bolsonaro may have tried to make his country good. But like, when you see someone that's making all these decisions that make absolutely no logical sense, I don't think those are people that try to make their country good. Like even in Zimbabwe, right? Like, let's assume that the person that came in there, Mugabe, I think his name was, right? He's like, oh, fuck the white farmer. All right, and that's your policy. Like you just want to give the farms to black people. Okay, well, why are you giving it, instead of like giving it to random black people that may know how to farm? Why are you giving it to your friends? Why are you giving it to your political allies, right? And then it's like, all right, you gave it to them. Like why aren't you doing the process slowly? Why aren't you taking like 5% of the farms and see how it goes? Like, can they compete with the other farms? Can they produce the same output? No, you're going to take all the farms and then you're going to start a famine. Yeah, I don't think that he's in it for the country, especially when he wasn't going hungry. His friends weren't going hungry. None of the politicians were going hungry. So it's like, no, you're doing this in order to enrich yourself. Like, you just want to live on the back of the people like an old modern monarch. It's like, okay. But don't tell me that he's doing it for the good of the country. Egypt might have been the long-lasting nation in history. No, see, this is another thing that I disagree. Like, just because the name of the country is there doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same country. Like China, right? The name China is there, but you can't compare it to like ancient China. It's not the same government. It's not even the same demographic. It's not even, right? So like everything is different. That now, there are other countries that did change names, but the demographics are more stable. So, depends. Like, for instance, Rome and Italy, right? It's not a good example now because of recent events. But like Rome from Italy from 100 years ago compared to Rome. Like, the name is different, but it's still, right? Do I want to talk about the Romanian elections? I mean, I don't know what to talk about it because they're not over yet. Like, we still don't have the results. But the Romanian elections are very interesting because there's this new man. So we're voting for the president. And I love how the press is calling it far-right candidate failed to reach Romania presidential runoff. But the reality is the reason they failed to reach is because there's even a more far-right candidate that did reach. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really not happy with the choice for president in my country. You have this guy, Marcel Ciolacu, which is pro-establishment, but he's like Eastern European establishment. So he's not Ursula von der Leyen. He's not Boris Johnson, right? He's, like, I guess like the same system where the politician promises a lot of free shit, kind of going to fuck the economy by raising taxes. And, well, I mean, he's pro-NATO, pro-EU, as pro-NATO and pro-EU as you can get in Eastern Europe. So, like, very pro-NATO, not so much pro-EU, but it's like, oh, well, we'll talk the talk that you guys want us to talk, but we'll do things our way. So, yes, LGBT, important, pivotal, human rights, kids should learn LGBTs, but when you look at the school curriculum, they don't do that, right? So, it's kind of like that. This is the politics of Romania since medieval time, because we're a country that was stuck between 4 empires, like the Russian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Poles. So, like, we were surrounded by empires, so you kind of have to know how to ask us, how to placate, because you're not going to make, like, politics in the region when you're surrounded by the big boys. So, like, okay, well, Russia is next to us, and then we're going to have to placate to NATO, where we're going to spend more money for NATO defense. The European Union, I mean, they're the ones that decide how the economy goes. Like, we can't be against them. Like, we don't have an economy to compete with Germany. So, yeah. When it comes to social issue, we do what they say. Yeah, sure, yeah. LGBT, really great, amazing, yeah. But not with kids. But we don't say that part, right? So, like, this is the guy. This is the establishment. And, of course, you know, Eastern European corruption, like going into villages, paying people on helping them to vote, that type of shit. So he represents more of the same. Now, the people that are running against him is this lady, Elena Lasconi, who is from USR. This is the Progressive Corporate Party. Like, this is the AOC. This is the... I think, like, there was an article that actually said that Soros was like the Soros Foundation was happy that they have a lot of people in the USR and they have also individuals in PNL, like another party. USR means United We Save Romania, like Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, right. So they're the party that actually has an ideology. Like, this guy doesn't really have an ideology. It's more like the establishment, like, running out of inertia. You know, it's like interests and collaborations and corruption and shit. But then again, like, all parties are corrupt. It's just that they're the old guard, if you will. I'm going to put it like they actually do have, like, common sense in the ways they do politics, because they know how to ask us the EU, but at the same time, they know how to not fuck our nation. So, like, they're somewhere in between, you know? It's kind of like, okay, if you vote for this guy, at least you know that things will keep running, but he's going to increase the pension for old people and he's going to tax me more. And he's also incredibly not charismatic, which is probably by design. Like you don't get to be in the position where he is in if you're, like, an actual charismatic individual, because they usually put a person there that's a yes man. So, anyway, Elena Lasconi is the... progressive type, right? Like, if she was elected, I could definitely see her going, and it's like, what is the EU saying? Yes, EU. Yes, absolutely. No, we're not going to negotiate. No, you're in the right, Romania is in the wrong. Yeah, we're going to do everything you want. Just give me a list. You know what? Thinking is hard. Just give me a list, European Union, and tell me whatever you want. Whatever you want. I'll do it. I'll fucking do it. Just tell me. So this is the type of person that I see with Lasconi. Now, her policies are that she actually wants to lower taxation. She's more, like, liberal-oriented. Unfortunately, she has the presidential seat. So I don't fucking care what her economic policies are. She's not in parliament. Like, if she was running for the Senate, then yeah, okay. But you're the president, so I don't fucking care. You're going to represent Romania with other institutions at an international level and other countries. So... it's more important to know what her view of the EU is, what her view of NATO is. Like, that's what matters for the president. The fact that she wants to lower taxes, all right, good. Can you start the law? Like, can you make a legislation? No, you can't. Okay, all right. So you're not the ones that make the tax. All right. So yeah, she has the chance of actually winning. Looking at the exit polls, the way it works in Romania is that the first time. There's 2 election seasons. So the first runoff, if you will, the 2 individuals with the largest number of votes go into the second runoffs. It's how it works. So In this situation, it's most likely going to be Marcel Ciolacu. We don't know yet because they're still counting the votes. But chances are this guy is going to go, and he's going to, like, it was expected that it would either be against her or against the far right. Now, the far right is George Simeon. During the pandemic, he didn't enjoy the fact that people were locked up in their houses, that businesses were shut down, and that's why he got a lot of popularity. But here's the funny part. The mainstream media absolutely despises him. Like, absolutely, every single time they had an opportunity, they called him a Putinist. They called him a Russophile, like all of the insults. To be called a Russophile in Romania is like being called a racist. And the media did this huge campaign disparaging the man. So what happens is they actually got someone even more extreme to the right, which is now capable of, I wouldn't say winning, but he's definitely going to go into the second runoff. So this guy, if you thought that Simeon is far right, this guy, you need super far right, extreme far right. This is a guy incredibly skeptical of the European Union. He was in an interview for 10 minutes, refused to condemn Putin. This is the embodiment. He's the avatar of the far right, if you will. If far right was to have a human manifestation, this is the man. I find it amusing. Because again, the whole efforts was to stop Simeon, which isn't that far right. He is right wing, pro-family oriented and shit. This guy, I'm willing to bet if you pull down his pants, he has Jesus tattooed on his cock. He is insanely, well, this is what the press got, right? So he won a lot because he campaigned on the internet, and Romania still doesn't look at the internet. We haven't censored out internet like normal people yet. So he campaigned on TikTok. And now all the press is oh my god, the Russian press likes this man. It's he's the man of the Russians. It's oh yeah, really. They thought he will get 4%. This is why it's funny. They thought he will get 4%. But in reality, he is getting 22. So 96% votes counted. Look at this. Ultranationalist. It's not they're making up new words just to describe this man. It used to be nationalist, blah blah blah, nationalism, bad. Ultranationalist. It's beyond nationalism. It's just the journalists have found out that there is an even more dangerous era. They were afraid of nationalism, but they must be terrified. It's what? There's something even worse than national. Ultra-nationalism, right? Beyond the AFD. In the realm. I generally wonder, do you think when journalists, when they go to summer camp and they tell scary stories around the fire and it's beyond the realms of the AFD. It's is there something beyond? Yes. Nazism, beyond Nazism. Oh my god. Beyond Nazism lies Călin Georgescu. It's kind of like that. Do you know what his policies are on the European Union? What? He is anti-European. He is against the continent, the very earth itself, the soil of Europe offends him. Oh my god, can such a person exist? Yes. Why didn't we know? Because on our arrogance we failed to see. We defeated the monster. But behind the monster was something even more terrible. Dark eldritch tentacles pound, and Călin Georgescu appeared. No, serious. It's the Romanian politics. Ultranationalism plus. He is now a football hooligan known for his brutality. Yeah. Every single bad thing. I don't know if they're going to run out from adjectives because they're not very inventive with the adjectives. They're not very. See, you would think journalists would be masters of the English language. But no, they're basically, instead of just saying nationalism, they say ultra-nationalism. So they can always go super ultra, mega ultra, the most ultra. They have adjectives. Um, he beat up a stadium full of Is he actually? Yeah, nationalism pro max. Just, hold on. What? I don't even know the man. Like I just had to find out about him today, because again, like, the press gave him almost no coverage. Like, he wasn't on any polls, he wasn't mentioned by anyone, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the Überraschung. I was like, okay. Let me see if he was a hooligan. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. He's known for sustainable development. He ran as an independent. Oh my god. Oh shit. He is having a notable career in environment protection. He was sympathetic with the Russian. He was criticized for being sympathetic to Russian. And he also had some anti-Semitic opinions. Ooh. Okay, now it's interesting. What are the anti-Semitic opinions? Why wasn't I told about this before? I would have done something. So apparently, oh, he talked about the party that allied with the Nazis. Well, not they didn't ally with the Nazis. Like the Romanian equivalent of the Nazi party, with Corneliu Zelea Codreanu. Like, this is our local Nazis at the time, if you will, the legionary movement, a fascist group. This is how the press calls them, fascist group from Romania, and he had positive things to say about it. He said that the history has been mystified around them and they're not so bad, and they did good things as well. Anyway. He spoke about Marshal Ion Antonescu. See, this was the leader that actually did ally Romania with the Nazi. Called him a martyr. And the press mentions that Ion Antonescu was responsible for deporting hundreds of thousands of Jewish people and Roma to the Germany extermination camps. And Mr. Călin Georgescu called him a martyr. That's interesting. Now, he also had criticism because, oh my goodness, he had criticism from the National Institute for Studying of the Holocaust in Romania, that condemned what he is saying, saying that his opinions are dangerous and irresponsible. And he contributes at muddying the history. I see. These opinions were analyzed and discussed in the international press. Articles from the Jewish Telegraphic Agency, where Georgescu was described as a Romanian political figure that praises a fascist leader and an anti-Semite on television. Naruhodo. See, now I learned. I didn't know about these things because I didn't know about this man until yesterday. The press refused to cover anything about him. Like, it was almost like it doesn't exist. Hungary is a clean, peaceful, and beautiful country. All of Europe should be like Hungary. Who cares about GDP and all about the See, like, this is what pisses me off. Because if you were to compare Europe to 40 years ago, Hungary wouldn't have been a beacon. Like, Hungary is still a corrupt nation. It's still difficult to do business there. And the only reason Hungary is good is because you're comparing it to Europe today. But, like, comparing it to Europe from 30 years ago, no, Hungary would not be, like, a symbol. And this is what upsets me. It's like they destroyed so much of European culture and the like, look, in Norway, they decided to put a tax on unearned gains, and they managed to scare off most of their investors. Like, why the fuck did you do that? Like, you're putting a tax on unearned gains, and you're not getting the money. You're just scaring off your investors. Why are you doing that? Why are you making so many regulations that are absolutely retarded, and they're not helping anyone? um 8 European countries are higher on the peace index than Hungary. Well, it should be like 25 European countries, but it is what it is. If you ever say the phrase, they did good things as well, expect to end up in the news. Yeah. The rest of the West has really downhill. Yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, Hungary isn't awesome because, like, it evolved as a nation compared to what it used to be, and it like invested so much, and look how much they built. It's like, no, everyone around them went to shit. Yeah, like imagine, you have like 10 kids building sandcastles on the beach. And like there are some kids that build like really amazing sandcastles. They're like almost like a beacon of modern architecture, like very detailed, really awesome. And then there's a kid that makes a sandcastle, and it's not that awesome, but it's not bad either. It's like, it's just a sandcastle. And then a tide comes in and destroys all the amazing sandcastles. And you only have like the kid with the mediocre one. Well, now the mediocre one is going to look like the best because there's no one that can compete. There's no other sandcastles. That's pretty much what's happening. But if you compare like Hungary with Japan, I mean, come on. Like there's no standard where Hungary would win. And by the way, like European nations were comparable to Japan before a couple of decades ago. Oh, you did not know what Norway did? Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah, they had an unearned tax, and a lot of people, they fled the country, and they decided to make a wall of shame. Like, this is absolutely hilarious. They decided to make a wall of shame for the people that fled. And I was like, well, where's the wall of shame for the politicians that caused the people to flee? Because that's how I'm thinking. It's like, no, like the private sector is going to care about their profits. Like, they need to pay people. They need to develop their businesses. They need to invest into research and development. Like, they're going to try to make money. If you tax them, they're going to start making calculations, and they're going to wonder, is it worth working here? Right? So, like, if it's not, they're going to leave. And if they leave, it's the fault of the politician that caused them to leave. Not rocket science. The mediocre castle is a fortress that serves as an example for the other nations falling because of the wave. I don't know. Again, see, the thing is, the politicians, like, in order for that to work, you would need the politicians to actually try to improve their countries, but when you have politicians that try to improve themselves, that you can't say that they're failing. Like I don't think that politicians in Germany are looking at like, oh, Hungary is such a better nation than ours. No, like politicians in Germany is like, how can we get more cash? How can we get more taxpayer money into our pockets? And if things go bad, they can just leave their country. If things go bad, they can be like, oh, I'll go to Switzerland, I'll go to... But many people don't have that choice. And take into account for things to get bad to the point where the politicians are affected, that will take like a couple of decades. Notice that the politicians, like, they don't live in places with rich diversity. They don't have to ever think what it's like to run out of money so that they can't take their cat to the vet. Like they don't have to deal with these problems. So, like, the country, like in Sweden, like the Swedish politicians, do they have to deal with any of the stuff that the average Swede deals with? No. So, like, why would they care? Like, do you think that they're looking at Hungary and they're like, wow, Hungary is such a good country compared to ours? No, they don't care. They're like, okay, how much money did I make last month? And how can I make more money this month? That's why they care. That's what their priorities are. A cigar salesman does not smoke. That's a good saying, yeah. Realistically, the rich people and corporations pay taxes at the rate they agree with. If a country that tries to push them too far, they can just leave. Yeah, like usually what happens, like this is why I found the left interesting. All of a sudden they understand tariffs, and it's like, oh, if you raise tariffs too much, the price of goods goes up, and at the same time they will be like, oh, we need to tax the rich more, and it's like, well, hold on, if you tax the rich more, isn't going to get the tax of goods going up, right? Like it doesn't make sense. But anyway, the whole thing is that when you're taxing people, they will try to increase the price of the good, right? So like, okay, you're taxing a supermarket. Well, what will happen is that things will be more expensive at the supermarket. But if you're taxing them too much, or you're making policy where people can loot and plunder the supermarket and the police can't do shit about it, well, the supermarket is just going to leave. Like, they're not going to keep their business open. There should be a law to prevent politicians from leaving their countries if the quality of life goes down. Yeah, but like, how are you going to make that? Like you would need a body that actually enforces it. I suppose like the way you can make it is if you're a politician of the country, then you're banned from traveling. But even then, it's like, okay, what if the politician just wants to go to Disneyland and come back? I suppose it could technically be possible, right? Like, it's a choice to become a politician. So, like, if you're elected into office, you gotta sign a piece of paper that claims that for the next 5 years, you're not going to leave your country unless it's, like, official business. Then maybe, but then they would just find a way to make it official. No, that like this can't be enforced. I understand your idea. It's nice, but I don't see how it can be enforced because as a politician, they can just make it so, oh, I'm going to have like a business travel to Brazil. And once you're in Brazil, you just stay there and you refuse to come back. So the politicians see you as the property of the state. So how dare you go elsewhere after making it big? You owe your whole life to them. Yeah, that's pretty much the socialist view. AOC said the same about Amazon. Like, she wanted to tax Amazon in New York, and Amazon was packing, and they decided to shut down some places. And she was like, oh my goodness, look how greedy they are. It's like, no, you fucked up. You fucked up. That's what happened. But regarding this, well, the thing with, like, ankle braces, like, you gotta understand, who's making the law? Politicians, right? And you want other politicians to be held accountable. When a politician wants to hold another politician accountable, they will wonder, like, what if it happens to me? So what you usually have, at least in Europe, it's not as much in America, because in America, politicians genuinely hate each other. Like, I can genuinely think that Ted Cruz and AOC hate each other. But in Europe, it's more like they hate each other in front of the cameras, but like behind, they realize that they're a different class of people, and they have like special interests that align with each other. So they won't pass the legislation that would prevent them from leaving the country. Yeah, in Germany, they generally hate the AfD. But again, like, I think they hate the AfD not because of ideology, but because it prevents them from making money. Like, that's it. Like, the moment you make it so that a politician can't make money, that's when they get upset. So with the AfD, the reason they hate them is because now the AfD is getting so many percentages in votes that it's difficult for the leftist governments to form coalitions. And in order to steal, in order to be corrupt, everyone has to be in on it, right? So, like, if they know each other, if they talk with each other, if they have friends, that's how corruption works. It's basically trafficking influence. So, like, you need to know the people, you need to know who to trust, because, like, not all politicians are corrupt. It's kind of like, okay, I'll tell you how it's like in a medical hospital or a university in Eastern Europe. Some doctors are corrupt, others aren't, right? So, like, if you go to a doctor that's not corrupt and you're trying to bribe them, you may get in trouble. So you actually need to know which doctors are willing to accept bribes. And in order to do that, you need to work at the hospital, you need to know the people, you need to be there for a while. And it's the same with politics, right? Like, if you're a company that wants to do lobby behind closed doors and you want to bribe a politician, you need to know which politicians can be bribed and which politicians are willing to take the bribe, right? So when you have, like, newcomers, you have people like the AfD and you know nothing about them, you don't know, or maybe they even hate you, you know, you fucked with them and now they hate you, so, like, they're not going to take bribes. You have a problem, and this is why the Germans are like, oh, ban the AfD. It's not just ideological. It's more on the fact that it's now affecting their pocketbooks. So like you're having people in, and maybe you have BlackRock. Like look what's happening in Britain with BlackRock. Like that is 100% corruption, my take. You have BlackRock, and it's like, okay, we want to fuck with your farmers. Like we want to buy farmland. You need to pass this legislation. Make it difficult for farmers to keep farming. Like pass more regulations, make it environmental. Blah 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 blah. Now, if the politicians are on board with BlackRock, they're like, well, what can you do for us? Well, we can't actually just wire you money because that's illegal. But what we can do, like, we have some BlackRock sponsored events at some universities. So, like, Keir Starmer, I want you to hold a speech at Oxford, and we're going to pay you $1 million for having that speech. Like this is how they bribe politicians, right? And it's all above board. And you're going to see, like, I guarantee to you, 100%, watch Keir Starmer, and watch when he's not prime minister anymore, or even when he is prime minister. Watch where he's going to attend public events, right? So it's going to be like a public event, a fundraiser, a university, somewhere where he's going to go and he's going to have a speech. And watch how much money he's going to make for that one speech. And wonder, like, is this reasonable? Like, is a person's time of 1 hour or 2 hours what it is to make a speech? Is it reasonable for them to be paid this much? And the answer is going to be no, right? And the reason he's getting paid so much is the same reason why Pfizer advertised during COVID. It's like, why do you have a Pfizer vaccine advert on television? It makes no fucking sense, right? Like, they already sold it to the government. They already made their money for it. So why is Pfizer advertising it? And the answer is because to control the news. It's like the news is going to make sure that they only cover it in a positive way. And in exchange for that, they get Pfizer advertisements, and the advertisements are probably paid a lot more than other advertisements. It's the same thing with like a lot of pharmaceutical goods, if you think about it, because most of the pharmaceutical goods, like, you don't buy over the counter, right? Like, you go to a doctor, and the doctor just prescribes you what medicine you need to take. It's not like a decision. It's not like you're going, oh, like, I got like these 6 different pills that do the same shit, and I get to pick which one I like. No. Right? Like, the doctor is going to usually prescribe, it's like, yeah, you need this medicine and you need that. So, like, why do you have pharmaceutical companies advertising then? Well, the answer is because they want to make sure that the news covers them in a positive way. And it's the same with politicians, right? It's like, you got BlackRock coming in. But the thing is, like, you need to know which politician is willing to do that and which one isn't. So when you have, like, new politicians, like people nobody knows coming into the system, makes things a little bit difficult. Politicians shouldn't be paid for speeches. Even if, oh, come on. Even if, first of all, who's going to pass that legislation? Are politicians going to vote that they shouldn't be paid for speeches? Like, let's get real. But let's assume that you do pass a vote, and it's like politicians shouldn't be paid for speeches. Okay, then their son gets paid. You get the Joe Biden situation, right? Like all of a sudden, their son is very knowledgeable on issues, and they go to some place. And it's not even the speeches. Like, let's say you make it so that you can't pay them for speeches. Okay, they publish a book, and all of a sudden, Amazon manages to sell 10 million copies of their book. All right, what are you going to do? Are you going to make it illegal for them to write books? Okay, you make it illegal for them to write books. All of a sudden, there's this bank opened by BlackRock, and the bank has like an offer. If you put a deposit, they forward you like a $10,000 because you're now their customer. Like they want your image. They want to see you as a politician representing their bank. And you get money for that. Like, come on. There are just so many legal ways of bribing politicians. Like, do you think politicians are bribed under the table? Like, do you think someone goes with an envelope and it's like, here? Like, no. All of these are above board. Like all of these are public information. Again, even if you ban everything, you're not allowing them to have speeches. You're not allowing them to write books. Yeah? Then you can just have BlackRock and be like, okay, we opened a new bank in Britain, and we want your face on the poster. Because you're an influential politician. People like you. We want people to trust our bank. So we're going to pay you $1 million to show your face on a poster. And you would need to have a compendium of things that politicians aren't allowed to do. And even then, people will find new ways. Like, for instance, in China. Oh, this is actually brilliant. So in China, They have a lot of laws against corruption, and like politicians are not allowed to be corrupt. Uh, Most of their finances are tracked, right? So here's what they do. There is a company that makes candy, and these candies are insanely expensive. Why? Because the wrapper from the candy is actual gold. So like they wrap their candies in gold. Now the candies themselves are shit. They're not even that good, but they're wrapped in gold. So what you do is you buy the politician 5 boxes of chocolate, and like he's going to get the chocolates, and it's like, well, it's a box of candy, right? Like it's not something big. It's not, and they get the boxes of chocolates, and they take the gold wrappers and they store them differently. They may take them to a jeweler or something to melt them and make them into the actual gold bar, and that's how they get corruption money, right? Or they can just trade the wrapper. Again, it's made out of solid gold. Like the wrapper is genuine gold, and it's like, there you go. Like you cannot just make it so that you eliminate corruption from the government, because there's legal ways to do it. There's also like the way Muslims are doing it. Like a lot of Islamic nations were sponsoring actual imams and people in Europe in order to spread Islam. And there were like 2 ways that they would get paid that I know. Like one way is the one with the book. Like the imam writes a book and Saudi Arabia buys like 5 million copies. Completely above board, right? You have laws that foreign governments aren't allowed to pay activists in the name, but who cares, right? Like that, he didn't get paid. They just really like his book. And the second way was you have like this lady from Saudi Arabia, right? She's wearing a burqa, a hijab, and she's covered in jewelry, head to toe, like just completely covered in like some of the most expensive jewelry. Like she's got like 10 rings. Every single finger has like 3, maybe 4 rings with jewels on it, very expensive. She's got like this beautiful necklace, probably worth like $10,000, $20,000. She's got like at her feet, she's got like those ankle bracelets, very expensive, made out of diamonds. And she goes into Britain. Right now at the airport, she's not having any contraband. Like she's a rich Saudi Arabian lady. Like nothing that she does is illegal, right? And when she leaves the country, she leaves it without the jewelry. Where are the jewelry? Well, she gave it to the imam. Now, if they go, like she can be like, well, someone robbed me. Like she can have like a lot of excuses, but it's not illegal, right? Now it would be illegal if she actually came in with cash, because you have to declare it. Like if you're going to another nation, like let's say if I'm flying, because that's the thing that pisses me off. Like all these laws are to fuck with the little people, but like the big people, they still get paid. So these laws are against money laundering, right? So basically, if you're traveling to Britain, you're not allowed to have like $30,000 cash on you. Like they would stop you at the airport. But if you're a lady from Saudi Arabia and you're covered head to toe in jewelry worth $500,000, you're not breaking any crime. It's just jewelry, right? And when you're there, you just give the jewelry, you pass it off to whomever needs to be paid, right, by the Saudi government. And then when you go back into the airport, like, first of all, no one knows what you came in with, because like they're not actually, like, unless the jewelry is in the luggage, no one is actually checking, right? So like no one is going to, like, how much is the necklace, how much is the ring, why do you, right? So anyway, I saw a version imam in Jerusalem from Saudi Arabia dispatched there, and he is not preaching Salafism, though, and locals were mad at the dude, but he was draped in the finest garbs. Yeah. Don't they usually pay the imam in little boys? No, I don't know. But like that would be like a community thing. Like they wouldn't fly them in. No. My point was that corruption can be done above board, perfectly legal. Like just that there's legal loopholes for taxes, there's legal loopholes for corruption. And all of this is public knowledge. So there you go. The whole Beyonce thing was just the wrong person getting paid, probably. V wants to make bribery legal and open. No, I don't think you understand what we're talking about. I'm saying that bribery right now is legal and open in every country. I'm not saying that I want to make it. I'm describing how the situation is and how it's done. And the reality is, I don't even know how you could stop it. Because even if you were to make a law that cracks down, like for example, the one with politicians giving speeches, right? It would be very difficult to make a law because the politicians would have to say, well, we as politicians won't give speeches anymore, right? So like that in itself is difficult. But let's say you pass it. Okay, they can't give speeches, but they can still write books, and someone can still buy their books. And now you make another law where you say, okay, well, they can't write books. All right. Now some bank wants them, or some pharmaceutical company wants their image on a poster. And you make it illegal for them to do that. And then it's like, okay, well, someone gives them candy wrapped in gold bars. It's like all of this shit exists specifically to bribe politicians. And even if you were to make it illegal, like there would be just other ways that makes it above board. Fuck, in America, they're not even making it illegal. In America, it's called lobbying. Like it's over the table to pay a politician. If a pharmaceutical company wants to give money to a politician, that's free speech. They even get a receipt. Like, I don't want to make bribery legal. It is. I'm telling you, it is. You're the one that should make it illegal. Find out ways, because I don't know how. Yeah, I'm being descriptive, not prescriptive. Oh yeah, like another way. You appoint the Saudi imam to oversee a whole university, and then people donate to the university. But like, it's not really like that, right? Because it's not like U.S. Saudi Arabia can't appoint people at the university. But yeah, like U.S. Saudi can make a university. Like you can actually create a university. There's legal ways, and then you appoint an imam in charge of the university, and then you donate money to the university. Like there are so many legal ways. It's insane. Describing how the world actually works is at least as important as wishing it to be different. Oh, I wish it to be different, but I'm also like not at the kids' table, and I'm just wondering like how can it be different? Like what exactly should there be done? And I honestly can't come up with the solution. Because looking at human history, I have never seen a civilization that doesn't have corruption. Now, if there would be a way, like if you come up with the solution, fine, tell me what it is and I'll advocate for it. But until then, I just don't see any practical legal way that it can be done. Right. Look, for instance, how doctors are being bribed. So, like, there's pharmaceutical companies that will come up and, like, if you're a doctor, let's say you have a patient with a heart condition and you want to prescribe to him beta blockers, right? But there's like 6 or 7 different types of beta blockers. There's like from different companies, different countries. They're all making the same pill. Like some of the pill, like how do you know what pill to give to the patient? Well, some of the pills may have like worse side effects, but not by much. Like some of the pills may be a little bit more effective, but not by much. So like, how do you know? Well, you have the pharmaceutical companies coming. And they're like, okay, well, you got like 6 types of beta blockers. They all do the same thing. Or better yet, 6 types of aspirin. Like, it's still aspirin, but it's made by different companies. So you have the companies coming up to you. And they're like, we have a symposium. Now, symposiums are awesome for the doctors. It means that you get to travel. So, like, let's say they have a symposium in Germany, right? And you're a Romanian doctor. So that means that you get to travel to Germany. And you're sitting at this medical conference. And the medical conference is like 1 or 2 hours. And after you finish, you get to explore Germany. It's almost like sightseeing. You get your hotel room paid. You get breakfast paid. You get all of the things paid for. And on top of that, you don't go to work. Because every single doctor has like a couple of days per year that he can only use it to go to like medical symposiums. This is to stay up to date with the medical knowledge and to improve and enrich yourself as a man of the medical profession, right? So basically, Yeah, beta blockers means that you're a tier 3 sub. Yeah, like basically these pharmaceutical companies are organizing the symposiums and they're invite only, right? So basically it's like, okay, if you promote our aspirin, we'll invite you to the symposium. Usually you're just invited, and it's kind of like understood that if you're invited, you actually have to promote their pills. And if you refuse to promote their pills, they don't invite you anymore. And people kind of get the hint. So if you want to use those days, like I think it's like maybe like 20, 30 days a year, where you can only go to like, and this is on top of the vacation that you get, right? So like 20, 30 days a year where you travel, you're going around the world and you're going to medical conferences and you're spending 1 or 2 hours there, and then you get to visit the entire city. Your entire vacation is paid for. That's how they get to bribe doctors, and it's legal, right? Like no one is passing the envelope under the table. No one is trying to like sneak in goods in the hospital. No, it's like it's perfectly legal, above board. V, why did you act like that video where Stick's girlfriend was bleeding from the nose was probably fake, but automatically assumed the screenshots with Destiny are real? Because Destiny hasn't denied it, and it's also Destiny. Like it's kind of, you get the vibe of the person. But if Destiny denies it and says the videos are fake, then yeah, okay, because there's no other evidence, right? Besides the footage, which at the end of the day is just embarrassing from what I get. Like it's not illegal unless there's like some footage that I haven't seen was like Destiny sucking butt plugs and shit. So that's why I did it. No, I genuinely, unironically think that Destiny, yeah, like the logs with Destiny are real. I think that. I mean, he hasn't denied it. No one has denied it. Now, if he is to deny it, I would believe it because there's no other evidence. It's like, it's just some logs. But the idea that someone went through all the trouble to fake so many logs, I mean, it's possible. But like, they're not accusing him of anything illegal, or it's just embarrassing, right? So... and by the way, I was right, apparently, with Styx's girlfriend. But I don't think I'm wrong with Destiny. So let's see. Let's see if I'm consistent with my predicament. Why would Destiny say that? Wouldn't it cause a Streisand effect? No. I mean, there are plenty of cases where the content creator denied the accusations. What are you talking about? Like that's usually the norm. I mean, there was a time when people said that me and Sargon are riffing. And like the first thing that I did was to deny it because it wasn't true. No. I'm consistent with my beliefs. And at the end of the day, it's what I think, Fadius. If you look into my head, you will realize that, oh shit, this is exactly what V is thinking. He's not lying. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to lie to you and say that I don't think this way? Depends on the character of the person. Like, I'm also taking into account who the person is. What have they done up until that point? Destiny is a left-leaning individual that had a open relationship. It's a lot more forward-thinking than I am. Even like more forward-thinking than some of the coomers that I hang around with. So if I see certain logs of him that show him having more open-minded interpretations of human sexuality, I'm like, yeah, that probably is Destiny, yes. Meanwhile, Styx Hexenhammer is a person that has stayed out of drama. I don't imagine him as a violent individual. So when something like that comes out, I'm like, well, given the nature of his character, it's unlikely. Now, can I be wrong? Yes. I mean, I'm not the authority on everything. I may indeed be wrong, and Destiny could actually be a very conservative fellow that would never put a butt plug anywhere near his oral cavity. Sure. And Styx Hexenhammer may actually be a monster that, like, is worse than Andrew Tate when it comes about his relationships with women. Also, sure. But I have a feeling I'm not wrong. I have a feeling that my ability to judge people as inconsistent as you think it is usually spot on. I'm usually ending up being right. Open interpretation of sexuality fits Styx as well. Yeah, but like Styx wasn't accused of causing his girlfriend a nosebleed because it turned him on, right? Like that's not what the accusation said. If the accusation was like that, you know, that Styx enjoys seeing blood, it makes his pee-pee hard, then I would be like, oh, okay, maybe a Satanist would be into that, right? Like it would be different. But like that's not what the accusation was at. No, he's not saying they're fake. He's basically questioning my like my ability to judge people and judge other people's characters is mystifying for him. Like he just doesn't understand. Like, why am I judging Styx and Destiny different? Like it's almost like they're human resources. They're interchangeable cogs in a machine. It's still like you cannot look at Styx and look at Destiny and draw a different conclusion. Like you need to apply the same principles on them as if you know nothing about them. It's like it's the first time you met Styx and it's the first time you met Destiny, and you know absolutely nothing of them. So why would you consider that this is true and this is false? That's pretty much what he's asking me. Was the nosebleed video fake? So from what I heard, the allegation is that the lady has spontaneous nosebleeds, and that wasn't caused by Styx. And this is why the video was taken down. It's because it's now under a lawsuit for defamation. So we don't know if it's fake, but chances are the idea that Styx hurt the person, because that's what we're talking about, right? Like it's the idea that he would have hurt her and caused the nosebleed. That has been denied, right? So like if Styx denied it and there's a lawsuit on it, chances are it's not him hitting her. No, I don't think it's an issue, Padres. I think I'm 100% consistent. Again, if Destiny would say that the logs are fake and he didn't do that, I would be like, okay. I see Destiny as a Cenobite in Hellraiser. Oh my fucking god, that would be... Can you imagine if they make like a Hellraiser sequel and Destiny is a Cenobite? I could totally see it. I could totally see it. Holy shit. That would be so fucking awesome. Someone needs to pitch this idea to a director. It's like you need to make a Hellraiser sequel and have Destiny as a Cenobite. Anyway, I need to go make a video about Romanian elections on my main channel. So I'll see you guys there. Take care.